Hey, hold on, focus, baby. Come on, girl. Okay. Mwah. Give me a kiss, I'm back with another video. Thanks for the kisses, y'all. Now we about to react to Larry Elder. Larry Elder and Dave Rubins. Mine Forever. Systematic racism. And I know y'all be on Larry's cock. So we gonna have this reaction. So comment down below if y'all hate this reaction, but I'm just playing, y'all. Y'all can say whatever y'all want in the comments, but yeah, let's get it straight to the reaction. Like, no time to waste. So we got Larry Elder's Cocoon. You know, I'm gonna start doing that when I come across black people that are traitors to the race. Cuckoo. And just remember, white people, I love y'all too. And remember this. Y'all hate the same kind of people like him too in y'all groups. Y'all do. Trust me. Those people that like are white and they come out and say all these bad things about white people while being white. Come on. Y'all hate these people too. We can go out on this. Me and you may not agree. White man I'm talking to, and it's probably gonna be a white man for sure, or probably a white woman, I don't know. We may not agree, but we do agree that the people that do stuff like this in your group, you hate just as much as we do. I don't know, maybe I might not hate this, maybe I might like this. Let's go.
So, but you would not acknowledge that there are some systemic issues.
Give me an example. Tell me what you think the most systemic racist issue is. What is it?
Well, I would say that because black people, in most cases, in many cases, were descendants of slaves, that racism as an institution, that it just, a certain amount of it just exists.
2015? Give me the most blatant racist example you can come up with right now.
I think you could probably find evidence that, in general, cops are more willing to shoot if the perpetrator is black.
What's your data?
Than white.
What's your basis for saying that? Last year...
Well, look, I know a lot of people would say, look what's going on in Chicago.
I know what they would say.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what the facts are. 965 people were shot by cops last year and killed. 4% of them were white cops shooting unarmed blacks. In Chicago in 2011, 21 people were shot and killed by cops. In 2015, there were 7. In Chicago, which is a third black, a third white, and a third Hispanic, 70% of the homicides are black on black. About 40 per month, almost 500 per year.
What does that have to do with systematic? It's always a deflection, man. What does it have to do with the question of systematic racism? Police brutality is not the only part of the whole conversation of policing. It's the criminal justice system in general. You can find so many elements of disparaging behavior from the criminal justice system towards the black community. You can find an extensive amount of evidence. I don't know why he said police. Like sometimes, because the other guy doesn't know it. He wasn't ready for him to ask him that question. You got to be ready. Look across the entire criminal justice system. There's a disparagency. But who am I? Let's keep going.
Here, last year in Chicago, and 75% of them are unsolved. Where is the Black Lives Matter on that? The idea that a racist black cop and shooting unarmed black people is a peril to black people is BS. It's complete and total BS.
But you know what's funny when Larry mentions this stuff? I've never seen his name on anything investing in Chicago. You bring up Chicago always as your talking point. Or you bring up whatever hood you can think of as your talking point, but why aren't you helping? Why aren't you helping as well? You're black too. Why don't you want to stop them, like the unalivings of black people as well? You say, where's BLM at that? Where are you at that? All right, you're trying to make black families great again by putting what? Fathers in the household, which is a good point. It's a good thing we could do. But where are you in the process of all the stuff that's going on in Chicago? I've probably put more money than this dude in Chicago. Probably put way more money into it.
And the reason for these so-called activists saying this is the assumption that racism remains a major problem in America. The media, CNN, especially MSNBC, runs down whenever a black cop shoots somebody, and it's some march on Washington. It's ridiculous.
He meant white cop. Just wanted to correct him.
Black people, half the homicides in this country are committed by and against black people. Last year there were 14,000 homicides. not talking about suicides, talking about homicides. Half of them were black, 96% of them black on black of that 7,000. Where's the Black Lives Matter people on that?
So there's where you would say that this is purely because of social justice. This is purely because they want ultimately for people to be angry enough to just keep voting Democrat.
That's right. And where's the evidence of the lack of social justice? When a black suspect is killed by a cop, believe me, the media's on it. People are watching it, and justice will, for the most part, occur. In Baltimore, where Freddie Gray was killed, Freddie Gray died in a van. I shouldn't say was killed. Died in a van. You have a city that's 45% black. City council is 100% Democrat. The majority of city council is black. The top cop at the time was black. The number 2 cop was black. The majority of the command staff is black. The mayor is black. The AG is black. And yet here we are talking about racism. I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
So it's funny. I find myself caught in between this a little bit as a liberal, where I want to.
Let me explain it first. What's hilarious is you gotta remember the system is the way it is what they're saying, right? The system is the way it is. It doesn't matter if it's a black cop or not. It's still a system of racism. I'll tell you why. They are reacting to what the system is telling them, how to react to it. A black cop will treat a black person just as worse, if not worse, sir. I don't know if worse is a word, but if not even more worse than a white cop. Because the system tells them that's what they have to do. It's so hilarious. When people point out how Kamala, they specifically point out, the conservatives always are pointing out that she was a district attorney. I can't remember, I can't think of the word right now what it was, but like she was that, right? She was like the lead on crime in California. And they talk so much about how much she did to black people. She did all this and this to black people. Okay. What about all the white prosecutors that did that same shit? Like, why are we just focused on Kamala? We've been talking about this for a while. That prosecutors treat black people pretty horribly. Oh, interesting.
We always try to defend the other. So in this case, the other being black people, I'm always sympathetic to that. I think that, yeah, at the same time, I hear you laying out a pretty solid.
Well, it's the facts. I'll tell you something else too. There was just a study, University of Washington, and it turns out cops were more reluctant, more hesitant to pull the trigger against the black suspect than the white suspect. Probably because of the fear of...
Research this. That study has been debunked. This is an old interview though, so he probably researched it down. He probably knows this. He probably never used it again. But that study has been debunked. That study has been debunked. Like genuinely been. I mean tanked. Research that.
Being accused of racially profiling and the fear that the civil rights establishment was going to come down on it. So, if anything, whites are more likely to be shot by a cop under certain circumstances than a black person. And in the last 30 or 40 years, the percentage of suspects killed by cops who are black has declined 75%. However, the percentage of whites killed by cops has flatlined.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, people are more concerned about shooting black people for fear that they're going to be called racist. And almost every one of these incidents, whether it's Eric Gardner in New York, who died because he was selling Lucy's and resisted arrest, whether it's Tamir Rice in Cleveland, who was twirling around the gun, whether it's Michael Brown in Ferguson, who had just committed an strong arm robbery. Almost every one of these incidents involves somebody resisting arrest. Why don't you just do what the police tell you? My dad said when I get pulled over, have my hand at 10 o'clock, have my hand at 2 o'clock, say yes sir, say no sir, make sure my paperwork is in order, and if I feel the cop is mistreating me, get a badge number and deal with it later on. If Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and Obama and the whole group of them told black people to do that, we'd have a lot fewer of these things to deal with in the first place.
So you're justifying why the cop shot him? A cop should shoot you for being upset? Tamir Rice wasn't doing anything wrong. He was playing in the park with a gun. He was, but it wasn't a real gun. It was a toy gun. It's up to the officer when they pull up to disdain between that. I'm being funny, y'all. He's right though. You gotta abide. You gotta abide by the rules. Don't do anything to get yourself to where you can't go home to your family. I agree with that. I agree with what he just said right there.
Yeah. All right, so I'm with you. I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying here. So, as a black conservative, then, who now you've laid out your case there,
But you haven't laid out yours. I asked you to name the most important example of racism, and you gave white cops going after black people. And I told you, gave you the facts for that. So that's nonsense. So you must have something else. What else is it?
Criminal justice system.
Remains a problem in America. Give it
Redlining.
I think it remains a problem.
Housing discrimination practices.
It may not be
Banking
systemic
discrimination
in that,
loans. He doesn't know any of this
it's not
stuff,
like
though.
you're not being hired because you're black. There's no systemic reason, legal reason that exists.
They had to pass a law in 2024 that you could wear your hair at work the way you want to wear it. Because they were discriminating on black people specifically for black hairstyles. Larry, I don't know. Larry.
It's that kind of thing. But I think that racism as a general
I need some
theory.
I need some specifics. You gave me the white cop thing. What else? Give me another example. What do you think is a problem?
Well, as a black conservative, tell me how do you get people to come around to
You're the one who made the assertion that you think racism remains a major problem in America. I asked you to give me an example. You gave me white cops going after blacks. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't hold it up very well. What's the other argument you have? What's the other thing?
Well, I don't know that it's systemic in the sort of macro sense.
I'm not mad. I just want to know what it is you're talking
about. That's
we can
exactly what that's.
Yeah.
Believe me, that's 100% what I wanted to have.
Blacks are not getting into school. BS. That we have affirmative action. So a black person with an SAT and a GPA of X will get into a school faster and easier than a white person with an SAT.
That's not true at all. Statistically speaking, more white women benefit from systemic from affirmative action than any other group of people. More white women benefit from that. So he said white people. Change that. You mean they would get in over a white man, and that doesn't seem to be proven because 80% of the other schools that aren't historical black colleges are driven by whites. So 80%. I know that statistic beyond a reasonable doubt because when I was trying to get into Yale University, going to visit it, it was predominantly white. When I looked into Howard, predominantly white. Harvard, predominantly white. Most of the big schools, predominantly white.
Or a GPA of X. And if going to school is a route to the middle class, you can make an argument that blacks have an easier route to the middle class. If you're talking about blacks, about poverty, the poorer you are, the more accessible loans and grants are for you. The problem, the biggest burden that black people have, in my opinion, again, is
credit.
The percentage of blacks, 75% of them that are raised without fathers. And that has every other social negative consequence connected to it. Crime, not being able to compete economically in the country, being more likely to be arrested, that's the number one problem facing the black community. And when I hear people tell me about systemic racism or unconscious racism, I always say, give me an example, and almost nobody can do it.
So the family stuff, I'll follow your logic there. On the family stuff, what can actually be done about that then? I mean, because that's a big...
Reverse the welfare state. In 1890, 1900, you look at census reports, a black kid, believe it or not, was slightly more likely to be born to a nuclear intact.
Wait, that was the stupidest answer I've ever heard if you really think about it. Reverse the welfare state? That was the dumbest answer I've ever heard.
Than a white kid. Even during slavery, a black kid was more likely to be born under a roof with his biological mother and biological father than today. What's happened is we launched this so-called war on poverty in the 60s, where literally Lyndon Johnson sent people knocking on doors. And I lived in the 60s, and people knocked on doors apprising women of their availability to welfare, provided there was no man in the house. And we went from 25% of blacks being born outside of wedlock in 65 to 75% right now. And you look at how much money that we spent on welfare, and the lines are parallel. It was a neutron bomb dropped on this country, not just on the black community, but on people in general. At one time, only about 5% of whites were born outside of wedlock. Now 25% of whites are born outside of wedlock. I was in college in 1970, and there was a report called the Moynihan Report.
I know what you're talking about.
Family, a Case for National Action. It's written by a liberal, by a man who became a Democratic senator from New York. And at the time, 25% of black kids were born outside of wedlock. He said, my God, this number is horrific. If we don't do something about it, it could get even higher. Well, fast forward, 25% of white kids are now born outside of wedlock. It is the #1 problem in this country, and what we've done, in my opinion, is we've economically incentivized women to marry the government, and we've allowed men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility, and now we have this.
Wait, hold on. Wait, no. I'm extremely confused. He said that black people were the ones that took the welfare state, right? I'm extremely confused. So black people went into the welfare state. How did white people get 25% up? How did that happen with white people? Did white people go into the welfare state too? I thought he said that they knocked on doors and incentivized black people. So they knocked on doors and incentivized whites as well? Because overwhelmingly, there are more white people on welfare than there are black people. Of course. It's weird, man. I don't know. The talking points are weird, but I rock with him. I love his opinion. He's one of us, so I rock with him. Anyways, I rock with the white. I like with white people too, man. I got my white homies on here too. Some of y'all cool, but some of y'all be talking shit in the comments. But go ahead, hop on Larry's dick in the comments.